My name is Crystal Gilchrist. I am a transportation planner for Montgomery County, and I'm going to walk you through our presentation here this evening. Thank you all for coming out on such a really pretty night. The Ridge Pike Improvement Project really extends from Norristown all the way to the city of Philadelphia. The project that we're talking about tonight is what we're calling Section C, and that extends from Harmon Drive in Plymouth Township to Crescent Avenue in Whitemarsh. It includes intersections at Butler, Joshua, Spring Mill, and Crescent, and we'll be talking about each one of those as we go forward. Tonight we're going to talk about the project overview a little bit. We're going to talk about who the team is that we have here with us tonight. We're going to go through the preliminary design concept a little bit, and I want to emphasize preliminary. We are just at the beginning of the process, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Mostly we are looking for your input into the preliminary concept that we've got, as well as what your feelings are, what your thoughts are about the issues associated with Ridge Pike going forward. And just in case you're interested, there's the website. We're going to be putting all this information up on the website as we go forward. So some information is there now, and we're going to be adding to it as we go along. So this section of Ridge Pike is 2.1 miles in length. We are proposing to do what's called a full depth reconstruction. Ridge Pike goes back to colonial days, so the actual Washington and Lafayette and those guys actually spent some time out here long ago, and Ridge Pike was here when they were here. It's been expanded and widened and patched and kind of stuck together with tape and glue, but we're going to do a full reconstruction, so by the time we're done, Ridge Pike will be a new road all the way from Norristown to Philadelphia. We are very interested in ensuring that pedestrians have a safe place to walk, particularly those people who are using SEPTA services. We know right now there are some pretty treacherous bus stops out there. Also, there is not a lot of storm water management that occurs on Ridge Pike right now. The facilities were never included in years past. We will be adding storm drainage and stormwater management facilities as we go forward. We are looking at intersection safety and congestion improvements specifically, but we're also going to look at some of the more difficult turning movements along different sections of Ridge Pike. This is our schedule right now. We are about midway through the preliminary design process. And in the preliminary design process, you're gathering information. You're gathering not just traffic counts and information about the traffic that's out there, but you're also gathering information about the terrain, the stormwater issues, other historic properties. All these bits and pieces of information are being collected at this point, and we're trying to put together some preliminary concepts in terms of what the problems are and what some of the solutions are as we go forward. We will be in preliminary design probably for another year, at which point, by the end of that process, we should have a more refined idea of what the improvements are going to be, and your input will be a big part of that, so please comment freely on all the displays that are here. And then final design is where you put all the details on the plan so that a construction company can actually build the roadway. So preliminary design is gathering all the information, and final design gets you to the point where you can actually construct it. Construction isn't proposed probably to start until maybe 2022. It will be at least a 2-year construction process when we get there, but we're a little ways off yet on that, so I have no real information to give you on that tonight. One thing to keep in mind, the design for this section of Ridge Pike is being funded 100% by the county. As we get into construction, there will be federal money involved in this project. It'll be 80% federal, 20% county, which means that we do have to meet all of the federal regulations for design going forward. So what does preliminary concept mean? Basically, it means that we have examined the roadway and the conditions out there, and we've made some preliminary estimates on how we can improve what's called level of service. And level of service is how we judge how well roads operate. And you can think of it kind of like your grades in school. Level of service A is very good, free-flowing traffic, very little congestion. Level of service D is what PennDOT requires for improvements to meet. So when we're out looking at Ridge Pike, we have a lot of intersections with levels of service E and F, which, just like your grades in school, is really, really bad. Level of service D is about the worst acceptable condition that we want to try to achieve. And it's very difficult to take a roadway from really poor levels of service to very far up on the level of service chain. It'd be almost impossible to make Ridge Pike level of service A. But level of service D is achievable, and we've got preliminary concepts to make that happen. The second thing about the preliminary concept to keep in mind is it is likely to change. And these public meetings are going to feed into that change as we go forward. We worked through a number of different scenarios with the design team, and the proposals that you see tonight are a starting point for the public considerations. If you've got questions, concerns, you think something isn't going to work, or it may work better if we tweaked it this way or that way, those are the types of comments that we'd like to hear from you, because we're going to continue to make changes to this design going forward. And then finally, during final design, we'll finalize all these details and we'll get it onto paper so that it can be approved by PennDOT, and so it can also be approved by all the other permitting agencies that are going to be involved. So our level of service calculations are based on projected traffic volumes. So we take into consideration what's out there now, what the land use changes are going to be, how there might be more vehicle trips generated in the future. So our design year for this is 2042. So we're looking 20 years out into the future and trying to ensure that what we build over the next 5 or 6 years is also going to accommodate traffic further out. So we're going to walk through these displays pretty quickly. I'm just going to point out a few things, because everything that's in the presentation is also around the room, where you can look at it much more closely and talk to the engineers about what's going on there. So we start here at Harmon Avenue, or Harmon Road, west of Butler Pike. And the Butler Pike intersection is right off the page here. But this is in Plymouth Township. We needed to come back this far in order to be able to include any type of a taper into the intersection of Butler Pike. You can't just widen the road. You have to work your way into it slowly. So those tapers are why we pulled back as far as we are. And you will notice on all these displays, we have a picture in there just to kind of illustrate the conditions in that section of the pike. Down here in the legend, it'll show you what the different colors mean, and on all the displays, the blue is where we propose to widen, the green is the sidewalk that we're proposing to put in, and then above that, we have a little summary of the crash information. There are different sections of Ridge Pike where we see a lot of crashes. When the engineers look at the crash information, they look at the details of that crash information, and they can tell if it's a turning movement incident or side swipes because of high speed. They can differentiate what the problem was and why that crash occurred, and that'll help inform our design going forward. So here's the big first intersection, Butler Pike. All the way around, we are widening on all 4 corners. This will allow us to expand what we're calling the Dunkin' Lane. Anyone who's been to the Dunkin' Donuts, you know you got a skinny little hashed out area there to kind of get out of traffic. We're going to give you a full left turn lane to get in and out of the Dunkin'. And we're going to increase the right turn opportunity so some of that right turning traffic can continue to move while the rest of the traffic has to wait. We have to address the sidewalk along the front of the Whitemarsh shopping center, and that means we also have to address the retaining wall there. So we are working with that property owner to figure out how to make that work. As we go forward with the process, we will be speaking with more of the property owners individually as we work our way through the process. So moving further east, here's the village, or the senior village, the end of the Whitemarsh shopping center here with their driveway, and the intersection of Spring Mill Road. On the corner here, we do have an historic property, that's Belmead National Historic Site. We have limitations on what we can do on historic properties, and we'll have to work through some of those details with PennDOT as we go forward. We are also including left turn lanes here at Spring Mill Road. One of the issues with crashes is that people switch lanes very quickly when they realize somebody ahead of them is trying to make a left turn, so they quick jump into the other lane. Those types of crashes are really common along Ridge Pike, so having the left turn lane kind of eliminates some of that jumping back and forth. And this section between Spring Mill and Butler Pike is one of the higher concentrations of crashes on Ridge Pike. Part of it has to do with the fact that there are so many commercial driveways. Every commercial driveway presents conflict points for turning traffic, so you can kind of expect that to be the case. Our level of service at Butler Pike, it's an E and F now in the AM and PM peak, and we're going to improve that to level of service D in both peaks. That doesn't sound like a lot of improvement, but it goes from like 180 seconds average delay down to 40 some, so it is a pretty significant improvement. And here at Spring Mill also, in all cases, the levels of service go from failure in E and F to an acceptable level of service. So moving further east, here's Belmead now on this side of the page. We are not proposing a lot of widening through the central part of the corridor, mostly because these are very large properties and you don't have a lot of generation of pedestrians in these locations. We are putting a sidewalk on the south side. We do have a lot of residential properties on the south side of Ridge Pike, and we know that in this section through here, we also have transit users who cross Ridge Pike there. So this continuation of that section, sidewalk on the south side, reconstruction of the roadway, but still just 2 lanes in each direction through this section. I'll note here too that we have been working with SEPTA from the very beginning of this, so for those people who do use transit through here, we are evaluating where the stops are now, if they are in the best locations or whether they could be moved to a safer location, as well as whether or not all of the stops really are needed, or maybe we need different stops someplace else. So we are working with SEPTA to refine their service through here as well. Here again, we're right on the edge of the country club. When we're coming up to Joshua Road on this side, you can see where the widening begins to occur here east of Birch Drive. And here at Joshua, how many people like that single lane at Joshua? We are going to add a second through lane there. That configuration that's out there now was done as a safety improvement. Again, because of people jockeying back and forth to avoid left turners, it was creating a lot of accidents and crashes. So the decision was made years ago to just channelize it down to 1 lane and allow the separate left turn lane. And it did reduce a lot of the crashes, but it also created a lot of congestion. So going forward, we'll have 2 through lanes here and a left turn lane and a left turn lane to the west as well. Here we have a fairly significant right turn lane indicated in the preliminary concept. We know that's really close there to those residences. We will be reviewing the right turn lanes going forward to ensure that they're necessary and to ensure that we aren't encroaching too much onto people's front yards. But a fresh left turn lane on the northbound side and on the southbound side. Moving, here's St. Philip Neary in the middle. This is one of the properties we did speak to specifically about their issues with left turns into their facility. We know there are an awful lot of school buses that turn in there in the morning and people dropping kids off, but they indicated that they do not necessarily have a problem there. We might revisit this section going forward, but we aren't proposing a left turn lane at this time. And then here's Sorrento's and Chestnut Street, where we are proposing to put a left turn lane. And the signal there, widen this out a little bit to provide a left turn lane. And again, we have a right turn lane on this side for the northbound to Chestnut. We will take another closer look at that as we go forward as well. Moving further to the east, here's Holly and Gowan. Still just 2 lanes in each direction with a sidewalk on the south side, the green line. And then over here at Crescent, this is the end of section C. The end point is here. We do need to work a little bit beyond that just to get those tapers in. but we will be providing a left turn lane to Crescent and a new traffic signal here. I think this is the new one.
Yes.
And and there'll be a left turn lane there so you can safely wait to make that turn. From this point further east, this is section D, and we've had a couple public meetings for section D over at the Whitemarsh Township Building. So if you do have questions about that, we can talk a little bit about that after the presentation, but this is where we're going to stop right now. So here's the schedule again, just to remind everybody where we are. We are in the middle of the preliminary design phase, so we have a ways to go. None of this is written in stone yet. There will be changes for sure, and we will try to keep the public as informed as possible as we make those changes. It's likely that within another year or so, as we move into the final design phase, we'll propose another public open house like this, so you'll be able to come see how we've progressed and what we're pushing forward into the final design phase. So we have a lot of team members here tonight. Greta Riley is here. She's the Director of Roads and Bridges for the county. She's around someplace. Matt Edmond is the Section Chief. He's in the back there for transportation. He's my boss. My contact information is up here. If you have specific issues or questions, you want to talk to somebody about going forward, you can always contact me. Our county engineer is McCormick Taylor, and Susan Geisinger-Cologne is here someplace as well, over on the side. Again, there's our website at the bottom. We are in coordination with PennDOT, so we do have a PennDOT project manager. George is not here tonight, but our engineers are RK&K, and Colleen Carmichael is here. She's our chief project manager for this project, and her whole crew is here. AD Marble is doing all the environmental work, and Colleen Meswich is here as well someplace. She's in the back. She will be responsible to look into the historic properties and those types of issues, which are all part of the environmental evaluation. And Bowles Smythe Associates is here. Mike and his crew are all here as well. They are doing a lot of the traffic analysis and trying to help us decide exactly where we need extra lanes or whatever it is we do need. So as you are looking at the presentations around the outside of the room, a couple things I want you to kind of think about. What are the main problems with Ridge Pike? And this is kind of two sides of the coin. We know that speeding is a problem on Ridge Pike, and congestion is a problem on Ridge Pike. So if we fix the congestion, it's going to allow people to go faster because they won't be stopped in traffic. So how fast do we want to make it, and how do we, how do the communities that live here deal with the speeding that's probably going to result once we eliminate some of this congestion? But nobody likes the congestion. It's not good for air quality. It's not good for people. You lose a lot of time. People get frustrated. And when people get frustrated, that's when they start jumping from lane to lane to try to get out of that congestion. And that's where the problems occur. So think about where those main problem spots are. Have we gone far enough to fix those problems, or have we gone too far? That's both sides of that same coin. We could make it a speedway. We really could, but I don't think that's what the community would want it to be. Or we could narrow it down to one lane in each direction, in which case it would definitely be slower, but I don't think you want that either. So where's that fine line in the middle that we're trying to find to make the road as efficient as possible while still keeping it safe? So think about that. If you know of particular places where stormwater is an issue, when we get these heavy downpours, if you know where the water lays or makes for problems on the street, please note those things, because we are going to be looking at stormwater management along the road as well. We're only looking at continuous sidewalk along the south side of Ridge Pike. If you think that we're not putting in enough sidewalk or too much sidewalk, please give your thoughts on that as well. Kind of what do you want Ridge Pike to look like when you're done? One of my first jobs was in Bucks County, and when I think of a road that kind of progressed from a small road to a major thoroughfare, I can think of Street Road in Lower Bucks County. And I just saw somebody shiver. Yeah, Street Road's not a very pleasant street. It serves a lot of commercial properties. It carries a lot of traffic, and through the years, it just kind of grew and grew. Is that the kind of road you want, or do you want something that's more congenial, more friendly, makes you feel like it's more part of the community? Let us know those types of things. And if there are any particular trouble spots that you think we ought to know about, please do let us know. Please feel free to ask questions. There are sticky notepads all over the place. You also were given a comment form when you came in with your welcome packet. Feel free to write down your thoughts on that and put it in the box by the door. We will compile all this information and try to make one line of sense out of it so that we can kind of carry it forward with the design of Ridge Pike. Thank you very much for your attention. Feel free to get another snack and engage the engineers and the planners with your thoughts about Ridge Pike. Thank you.